my name is Jason, JROCK Houston. You guys are listening to an interview being done for Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. It's my great pleasure to be speaking with lead singer Scott Wawrzyniak of the band Rubicon Cross. Did I pronounce your name correct, Scott?
You pronounced that pretty good. It's Crossing Rubicon, though.
Okay. So, how long have you guys been together?
The band's been together for about 5 years.
And I love the name. I mean, I don't really know what it means, but it's kind of an interesting sounding name. How did you guys come up with that?
Honestly, I was destined to name the band myself. And myself and my drummer, Brandy Hood, we were kind of like going back and forth on names. And I'm a big Shakespeare guy. I'm a big theater guy.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a theater-trained singer. That's kind of how we kind of got my part of the sound. And we're a metal band with a rock drummer and a drama, a Broadway-style vocalist.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of how we got, but I wanted to come up with a name that would be timeless and would matter. And at the time, a lot of the stuff we were writing was a lot of stuff that we were almost nervous to talk about openly. A lot of personal stuff. And I'm like, well, we crossed the point of no return with this, and it hit me. Julius Caesar, in the play Julius Caesar, it said if Julius Caesar were to cross the Rubicon River, it would be considered a declaration of war, and it means past the point of no return.
Wow. Now, you being a guy who kind of has a theater background, let me ask you, when it comes to your guys' stage show, do you just get up there and kind of, put on a great live performance, or is there much, theater, if you know, or even dramatics when you guys put on a live show?
We've always been called a very dramatic live show. Obviously, depending on the budget, what we can do as far as any other, no pyro, but fog or whatever, light or whatever. But realistically, personally, there's a lot about the music that I really get into and believe, and we're making a strong statement with our music, and we also make a strong statement with our performance. It wasn't until this record, our problem with the past recording, we didn't release an EP in the past, was we really wanted to be able to capture something that you can sonically listen to that's going to say, hey, this is Crossing Rubicon, because so many times we were always like a live band first and an album band second, and we put on a show.
And so
very theatrical.
So let me ask you, Scott, when you were coming up, who were the bands, especially singers, that influenced you to do what you're doing now?
My favorites, definitely number one is Freddie Mercury.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Tate from the 80s Queensryche. In the early 90s. Sammy Hagar.
Oh, okay, well.
Those are, and a little bit of Bowie. But the big one's Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, Freddie. Well, that would make sense. Freddie Mercury, quite the performer on all aspects, I guess you could say. But those are kind of interesting. Influences, all very powerful singers in their own right. Sammy Hagar, to me, is the one that, out of all those guys, kind of stands out, because Sammy, he's a great writer. He can write. He's a great songwriter. He's a great singer, a guitar player. He can kind of, do it all. So is that kind of one thing that influenced you about Sammy? That he's a guy that's much more than just a singer.
Yes, I kind of like the. I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I learned a long time ago, actually at the beginning of Crossing Rubicon, I needed to write everything, and then I learned a lesson very fast, that the more input I had from talented songwriters working with me, the better songs we would write.
Yeah.
And I've literally, we split everything in this band 5 ways.
Well, I think that's a very smart thing to do on your part, for the simple fact that that's where a lot of bands get in trouble and egos start to come and play, when one guy maybe writing the bulk of material and he's getting all the royalties and things, so to speak, and other guys like why is he getting all the money in that, and that's usually a main reason that a lot of the bands break up.
Yeah, we split everything up evenly, no matter what.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was so funny, because initially when originally I was playing guitar and singing with the band, but I always hated bands where the singer would just play guitar, because you really couldn't put much of a show on.
Yeah.
And I hired a guitar player to kind of play my part. And that was the initial, and then the other guitar player that I was writing with at the time was like, what are you hiring this guy for? You play. And I'm like, well, this guy's going to be our new guitar player. I'm just going to take the frontman spot. And initially, when this guitar player was like, "Hey, I wrote a song," my first reaction was, "Hey, that's cute, kid. You wrote a song. That's nice." And then he played me the song, and I was like, "Wow, this kid can write."
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I learned my lesson. Hey, you know what? I have 5 musicians in this band. Everyone has different influences, and we kind of pull from all those influences, and we kind of made a sound where, people say we're like 80s and 90s metal meets modern rock.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we go for.
And it's great to, when you got that talent to write the stuff, but I guess you kind of found that, collaborating with other people kind of, it's a great thing to collaborate with people because, it brings their influence into the band and into the music, so it doesn't sound like the same old thing over and over.
Yeah. One thing is we were very, it's like our sound is diverse.
Uh-huh.
We've opened for metalcore bands, and we've opened for Bret Michaels.
Wow.
Motley Crue, everyone from Motley Crue to All That Remains. We've been able to kind of, and we fit with all those bands.
That's kind of interesting. Now, is there been a band that you've ever, played a show with that you kind of had trouble winning over a crowd, or you've pretty much been able to fit in with whatever band you guys play with?
I would say, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I would say the heaviest bill we've ever been on, it was with a band called Falling Further.
Okay.
And these guys were just heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny because we're watching all these bands play, and we were headlining the bill, and they were just vicious heavy. And we were like, we go up and play, and then we play, we did our thing, and they were like, that was awesome. So we've always kind of like, we like all different kinds of music. So I think it's more or less, as far as I'm concerned, I like a bill that's kind of diverse anyway.
Yeah.
It seems like sometimes in the industry nowadays, unless every band that goes on tour together sounds like a clone of each other,
yeah.
then this tour's not going to work. Well, I kind of always like this. I like a mix.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned. I'm another guy like you, but I always loved bands that had like, 2 guitar players, because to me it gives it a little bit of a fatter sound, and you have one guy that kind of does all the leads, and he kind of is a flashy player. The other guy kind of just holds it all back. But I often find, for my own liking, bands that have 2 guitar players, there's, to me, there's just a little more going on. I mean, a perfect example of that is like Judas Priest, the classic stuff with KK Downing and Glenn Tipton. I mean, just look at what they did.
Actually, you mentioned that, and I totally forgot to put Rob Halford in the list.
Yeah,
Big Priest fan.
And it's kind of interesting, like, you mentioned that you're influenced by all these, real powerhouse singers, Halford, Jeff Tate. Now, Jeff Tate, I was curious, of course, who isn't a Jeff Tate fan and fan of all the stuff he did with Queensryche, but have you had a chance to hear his latest album by his revamped Queensryche, what he's calling Operation Mindcrime these days?
I will say this. We got to play with Queensryche in 2011, and I became friends with some of the guys in that band. And I'm kind of on the team Todd LaTorre.
Oh, okay.
Side. I listened to the last Tate album, and I was kind of like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't want to criticize, but like I like the direction that Queensryche is going in right now. And like I said, Tate is a hero to me.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I much respect for what he's done in the past, but I don't know. What do you think of it?
Well, I got to say, because I've actually had a chance to interview the man a couple times. He's always been very, really nice and down to earth to me. But as a fan of what he'd done in the past with Queensryche, I think this latest album he put out, it's called The Key. To me, it has a little, because it's more of a concept album, and to me, it's got a little more of a classic Queensryche sound than say his last album. And I definitely think it's worth checking out. And he's got a powerhouse band. I mean, he's got like Simon Wright, the drummer from Dio and AC/DC. And he's got he had Rudy Sarzo in his band for a while. He has like a revolving door of players, but very talented guys in the band. I think Brian Tichy at one point was playing drums live with him. But very I think what he's doing now, it's got that classic Queensryche sound. But it's kind of interesting that here's a guy. I'm talking to a guy. You Scotty. I'm talking about who was a Jeff Tate fan, and you're kind of more on Team Queensryche. Do you think that's just because what Queensryche is doing these days is more to your liking, or because you've actually met with the guys and got to know them on a personal level?
A little bit of both. I mean, you watch them. I mean, I haven't seen the Tate Queensryche yet.
Yeah.
But I've seen the Todd Queensryche, and I've seen them with and without. I still, and I will say, like, watching them on stage. First of all, you gotta love what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so many times, like in the past, you always kind of felt like you were at your friend's house, and his parents were going through a rough marriage, and they were getting divorced.
Yeah.
And it was always awkward. And now I'm seeing 5 guys on stage loving what they're doing. And kind of putting their heart and soul into what they're doing now, and it just felt good to see that. And Todd's an awesome guy. Like I said, I met Jeff. He's a great guy as well. I just like to originally, though, but you know what? Based on what you just said, I'll listen to the key.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this latest album he put out, The Key, is I think there's like 3 albums. He's already got the second album recorded. I think he's going to release it maybe 6 or 7 months, from now, the second one. But he's been getting really, great reviews. But moving on to what you do, I was curious. When you were coming up as a musician, I imagine you started out as a guitar player first. Am I correct? And then you kind of morphed into a singer.
I actually started on piano, then moved to guitar. I was more like a singer-songwriter guy.
Okay. Which a lot of guys are now. Now, I was curious, when you were coming up and, you started on the piano, which a lot of guys that write songs, they start playing the piano because that's a great way to write songs, and then, like you, they move on to guitar and stuff. Now, did you become a lead singer out of necessity, that you were the guy writing the songs and you kind of just felt more comfortable singing your own material as opposed to having some other guy come in and sing your material?
I've played in bands where I played lead guitar before, and I think when it finally came down to, Crossing Rubicon, I put Crossing Rubicon together out of, I put that band together out of necessity, because I was kind of in a weird place at the time, and I finally wanted to make my statement in case things didn't go well. I was dealing with a drug and alcohol addiction at the time.
Oh, wow.
And kind of felt like I had a doctor tell me that I probably wouldn't make it to the end of the year if I didn't keep it up. But I was going through some depression issues, and I didn't care. And I was like, the only thing I cared about was I wanted to record my album and put my statement out there before it didn't go on anymore, And that was a lot of what the name Crossing Rubicon, and what a lot of the original material was about.
Wow.
I had since gone sober, and a lot of, I went sober because I got arrested one time too many.
Yeah.
And it kind of changed what I was writing about, and I started writing a little bit more about, the positive side of things.
Yeah.
Kind of started to write. I wrote a lot about dealing with my addictions at the time and going sober. And, we started making a statement where we're like, people knew, what we were singing about. And people started, I started getting comments from people that came to see our show. Oh, I've been sober for 6 months because I saw you guys play with Pop Evil.
Wow, talk about the power of music, man. I mean, and it's got to be a great feeling to know that, I'm the guy that wrote these tunes and I'm singing them, and people are, it's making a difference to these other people that have kind of gone through the same struggle as me. That's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, originally I was the album that took 4 years to make, originally we were going to call it Epitaph, and it turned into much more of a, and it was through playing with these people in this band and seeing that input. It's like, my life means more than just, where I was headed. And, I've completely changed my lifestyle around.
And let me ask you, if you don't mind getting a little personal, which we kind of already have touched on the subject, but
go for it.
As far as your sobriety, and forming Crossing Rubicon, did you ever have any concerns about, God, when I go on the road, I'm worried about, the stuff's going to be, it's going to be available, to me on the road if I want it. You ever worry about slipping or anything?
I slipped once, and I don't have a problem talking about it. I can say this: it wasn't being on the road. It got to the point where we had gotten assistance in recording the album initially.
Okay.
And I made the decision at the time, because I had a really, really big paying career, and I was making a lot of money. and it was either follow through and go with the album or keep my job.
Wow, wow.
And I walked away from my career and got a job working in a bar and then waiting tables.
Wow, wow.
And I had been married for 12 years, and my wife at the time kind of realized that even though she told me one way that she was going to follow through and support me, that she agreed with it, that lifestyle wasn't really her thing, so she left like a week after.
Wow, wow.
My career.
Wow.
And then on top of that, my bass player had made the decision because he had a family and kids in a house. He couldn't play in the band anymore, so my best friend left the band.
Wow, wow, wow.
And then on top of that, I had a doctor tell me that I had throat cancer.
Ooh, ooh.
So,
and how long?
All that together, I went back to drinking for about 6 months.
Wow. So, again, just I had no idea of any of this before we doing this interview today. Now, the throat cancer. Once you got that diagnosis, how long did that take for you to, heal or recover from?
Well, that was the thing. I kind of found out because I was having trouble singing.
Wow, wow.
And it was almost like the irony. You walk away from a $180,000 a year career to make $20,000 a year to go out and record your record and make something of your music career, and then you find out you have throat cancer. It's like the ultimate kick in the, But what happened was I had, a doctor tell me all that happened was in the course of a week.
Wow, wow.
And literally, I left my career on a Sunday. My bass player left on a Thursday. My wife told me she was divorcing me on the following Sunday.
Wow, wow.
And then that Tuesday, my doctor tells me throat cancer.
Wow. At the time, you must have been, that could make somebody, go back to, fall off the wagon, so to speak, and go back to her demons. But let me ask you, at that point, or since the interviewer thought, maybe God was trying to tell me something. I hate to bring, God in this, but the point being, I think you're a real good example. A thing I kind of find very interesting about the story here so far is the fact that you're living proof, Scott, that they say money can't buy you happiness. You're telling me you had a job at where you were making a lot of money and you would have been probably set for life, but you're now doing your music, which it sounds like not making it quite as much money, but you're a lot happier. It sounds like because you're doing what you love.
Yeah, and ironically enough, I fell in love with another musician.
Yeah.
And we're actually getting married next month.
Wow, wow.
We're in our band now.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
And what's that like, having your lady in your band, and it's you guys are seeing each other constantly, you're on tour together. That's got to has it ups and downs, I would imagine.
There's no downs.
That's great. That's great. And the other thing I kind of love about your story is here's a guy that he gave up a great paying job to kind of do what he loves, and like you said, all this crap kind of happened the same week, but since then it kind of makes me think, okay, he's doing what he loves now. He sounds a lot happier, and it sounds like the cancer is gone away, at least for now, and we hope it stays that way. But maybe this was somebody trying to tap you on the shoulder and say, man, follow your heart, do what makes you happy.
Yeah, if I would have known it would have turned out like this, it was a fight. There was a point in time where I kind of it was like the second time in my life I kind of just gave up. And then when Jeannie and I started seeing each other, I was like, I hated being, drinking again. I didn't go back to drugs, thank God.
Yeah.
But there were people that, were inspired by me, and they see me with a drink in my hand, and all of a sudden they're like, what, dude, really?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, sometimes there are things in life that are greater than you.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the cancer, you've got a clean bill of health in regards to that, or it's gone away at least for now?
Yeah, the situation with that was miraculous because I had the doctor tell me cancer. I had a second doctor who was like, calm down, I'm here to make sure you're okay with this, that you're calm about this. And then he's like, oh God, we need to send you to a specialist. And then the specialist was like, we need to operate now. And at the time, I'm like, while all this is going on, I'm like calling my band members, like, you need to get to that studio.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's going to happen in 6 months. This album has got to be finished.
Wow.
That's all that mattered to me.
And so,
And finally, I went through the surgery where they had to remove cancerous tissue from my vocal cords.
Wow.
And I waited 2 weeks, and the doctor gave me a 100% clean bill of health. No chemo needed or anything. It was like everything was cleared up.
Now let me know. Let me ask. Like you said, right before you were diagnosed, I guess you were having problems, with your ability to sing or your voice or whatever, and that's kind of how they discovered it. Can you tell the difference now when you sing? That it's a lot more clear. I mean, can you tell the difference between when you first got diagnosed and now you got a clean bill of health?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I got my sustain back. It was so funny because the engineer for the album, Vic Rivera at Red 5 Studios in the Bronx, he was like, "Oh, I want you to go easy, blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll go easy." I kind of started belting out these high notes in the song "The Fall," and it was like, "Whoa, never mind, he's good."
Yeah,
So,
and at the time, did you kind of before you got your clean bill of health, not knowing what the future might hold, did you kind of have the attitude that like you're saying earlier, you're a guy that wanted to really make a statement with this band and kind of think, well, if this is my statement, if this is one album I put out before I go, it's time for me to pass on, so to speak. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to make a great sounding album. Was that attitude or the thought process at the time?
at that time, I'm like, this might be my one shot. I'm going to do the best album I possibly can.
And that's great. That's great. I mean, just a great, inspiring story. Now, let me ask you, did you have to take any time off from the road when you had the surgery, or were you not on tour at that point?
We were not touring because we were recording.
Oh, okay.
You know, we were doing pretty much anything you could drive to in a day, just playing like regional stuff. The album took 2 years to record. So we were we held back a little bit. We had toured since 2013.
Yeah.
Yes, we kind of had to hold back from that. Now we're antsy because our manager is telling us, once we see the returns come back, for the first week of sales, we'll see what we're working right now on the spring and summer right now.
Wow. And so I imagine after going through all of that, there must be a real appreciation on your part as far as, man, I just love doing what I do, and I'm gonna keep doing it. I mean, a guy that he goes through a divorce. He's told he has throat cancer, and then you get this miraculous recovery, which is just the best part of the whole story. And I'd imagine you guys, I understand on February 12th, just this last week, released your latest album. You want to talk a little bit about that and tell us what fans can expect from that? I think it's called Less Than Everything. Am I correct?
No Less Than Everything, which was originally, going back, it was originally going to be Epitaph.
Oh, okay.
And then our mentality kind of changed. We're like, you know what, we're going for No Less Than Everything. As far as we're concerned, the music industry with album sales and illegal downloading or even legal downloading is hurting, and people are struggling. And I think our thing is, who's really out there putting on a show and giving somebody something to listen to? And, I guess it's not just us to pat ourselves in the back, but I think, there are bands out there that want to go out there and make the world a better place and change the world. Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'll tell you this, Scott. You're talking to a guy who just, loves all kinds of rock music. But the thing I love is, it's a new business model, so to speak, here in 2016. But I miss the days where all my favorite bands would, they'd all release new music, and a lot of days we get we're just going to put out a 4-song EP every 6 months. I love bands that do like what you guys do. I love getting a full-length album. I mean, to me, number one, I feel like I'm getting my money's. Oh, great! I'm getting an album of 10, 11, 12 great new tunes, and then I love having a CD to hold in my hand, look at the artwork, and read the liner notes. I mean, I just miss but not all the bands are doing that these days.
Well, and that's something too. You're talking to a guy that still likes to buy vinyl.
Yeah. Interesting enough, vinyl, in the last few years is kind of making a comeback. Still not a ton of record stores out there, but like there once were. What's a record store? A lot of kids don't know that. But vinyl, I'm seeing a lot of the new releases are coming out, and even a lot of the classic material are re-releasing on vinyl that you can get on Amazon and stuff, and I find that interesting. Even in Barnes and Noble bookstore, they're starting to have a vinyl section, which I think is kind of interesting.
Well, one of the things that I kind of like right now about the industry, which people kind of overlook, and it's almost it's proof in the vinyl thing right now, where the people that love music really love music. Yeah. And it's almost like we're at a war against capitalism. Yeah. And the idea that everyone out there thinks, well, why would you spend money if you get it for free? Well, you just don't understand. Yeah. this is like, we're at war. You know, this is a war for music. This is all. It's, you know, there's, you know, people are just staring at their iPhones all the time nowadays, and it's like there's so much more. You know, like back in my day, I could tell you who produced every single Queen album.
Oh yeah.
Ask one kid to name the producer on any Beyonce album.
Yeah. It's like what's a producer? I mean, I hear what you're saying, and you know, interesting thing. Talking a little bit about the power of internet. I mean, there's things I like about the music industry these days. I mean, one thing I think is cool about the internet and stuff. Okay, you get the immediate access in the sense that. For example, I'm a Kiss fan, and Ace Frehley, the original guitar player, he has a new covers album coming out April 15th. You know, they just released the first single for people to, you know, check out on the internet. I think, okay, that's a cool thing. But then I'm not one of these guys that, I'm going to buy each song for I'm going to buy one song for 99 cents. I want to support my, you know, favorite bands. I want to go out and buy the album. I want to go support them when they come to my town. You know, go see the live show. That experience. That's what it's all about to me. If you're really a fan of these bands, you know, you'll support them.
Yeah, I would say, like, you know, we ended up having to fund, you know, the majority of this album ourselves, and we ended up having to, we decided that we wanted to go, you know, be able to record the album we wanted to record.
Yeah.
And instead of kind of keep it to, you know, whatever standards were put in front of us. And it turned into, you know, we'd rather make the album that we always wanted to do and shop it as opposed to, you know, whatever, you know, falls within any standards, and maybe, you know, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it's like you go to the studio, and there's like one song we ended up doing like, God, I think it was like 36 vocal tracks in this one harmony part.
Wow.
And it took us like a month to do, and we're going over and over and over, and you know, like, you know, working on it and coming up with more parts and more parts, and finally, you know, after we get done with it, you're like, you're looking, you're like, wow. You could buy that song for less than a price for a cup of coffee.
Yeah. But you know, another thing that I love is the fact that, you know, from my perception, the record industry in a lot of ways screwed themselves, if you know what I mean. Because I love the fact that, like, kind of what you're talking about, the way the music industry is working these days. You do have a lot of bands putting out their own stuff and independently. Yeah, and on one hand, it takes up a lot of their money to do that, but it also puts the power back in your hand. You don't have a guy telling you, you know what, I don't hear a single, go back and write me something more commercial sounding. You're able to put out the product you want. And the beautiful thing about that at the same time, on the flip side too, as much as you got to put your money out there to print up all these CDs or whatever, or just to even, pay for recording studio or whatever, if the album is a hit, if people start buying it, but the money hopefully goes into your pockets, and not the record company, or some guy at the record industry is not, or the record company is getting all the money. But I do want to touch a little. In fact, I know you guys are signed to Pavement Entertainment, and I know a little bit about their history, which I think is a great story in itself, because the guy that runs the label is Tim King, the bass player from Soil. I think it's a great thing to be on a label where the guy that owns the label is a musician himself.
Absolutely. Tim has been great to us. We had released a lyric video back in October, and because of one thing or another, it kind of blew up a lot bigger than we kind of wanted it to.
Yeah.
We actually just wanted to release this lyric video and slow build. We had, we put some, there was some press behind it, and it kind of got a little out of hand.
But that's got to be a good feeling though, because again, that's another great thing to me about the internet is these days a band can do that. They can put a song out there and you kind of get a feel for, you get immediate reaction if people like it or not, and you thought, wow, we're onto something bigger. Okay, we're gonna instead of that, we're gonna release another song in a couple of weeks and see what. But you do get that immediate reaction, and at least it lets you know if you're kind of on the right track or not.
Yeah, and it was great. We got a lot of positive reinforcement, but we got some negative reinforcement because people weren't expecting, they weren't expecting us to sound the way we did.
Yeah, you can't.
I go by the name Scotty Anarchy, and they made fun of the name, and I'm like, well, because nobody can pronounce or spell Wawrzyniak.
Yeah.
And that name was given to me by the Bristol Police Department, by the way.
Wow.
Years ago. So but it got Tim's attention. And Tim he realizes, hey, there's potential in this. He liked the fact that we kind of had a modern rock meets classic 80s metal type sound.
Yeah, and the great thing about getting that kind, even the negative feedback or whatever, you get the negative and the positive. You know, like you said, you can't please everybody. The beautiful thing about it is you're kind of getting an honest reaction as opposed to, again, to a guy in a suit telling you, oh, you know what, based on our latest record sales, I don't think this type of music is going to sell, so go back and write me something, more commercial sounding like modern day Alice in Chains. You got the reaction of an actual music fans for the most part, and I think that's one of the powerful things about the internet. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, Tim's been, after dealing with certain, some people that have been a little on the shady side over the last 4 years, Tim has been a breath of fresh air. Yeah,
well, I would think, to just me as an outsider, I think what would make a situation like this work, again, is the guy that runs and owns a label is a fellow musician himself, so he can kind of, hopefully have a mindset, well, hey, I'm a musician, I know what it takes to make it in the business, I've been through this, or this is what I can suggest to you, as opposed to a guy that's never been in a band, knows, maybe all he knows is about, record sale figures, but he knows nothing about what it's like to be on the road or what it takes, to sustain an entire tour,
And our manager is also a musician.
That's great. That's great. And so, tell me a little bit about I guess you kind of told me, but if I understand you, so as far as the way you guys came into Pavement Entertainment or got signed to a label was you released a song, independently on your own, and then based on the reaction you guys got, he kind of seen how everybody reacted to you. And was he the one that got, reached out to you guys, or did you at that point send him a demo? Or?
He reached out to us. It was basically our manager is Zachary Scott.
Okay.
Who's lead vocalist of It Lies Within.
Okay.
Great metalcore band. Another very positive band, and they put a great show on too.
Wow.
But shameless plug there.
Yeah.
But what happened was we released this lyric video, and originally it was somebody else was working with us that we wanted do something a little special with the lyric video, and we tied in some live footage to it, and which was just because we were kind of in a hurry to get it done.
Uh-huh.
And a friend of mine who plays in a band, Grip 93, he programmed this video. He spent hours and hours on it trying to make it look cool, and for a lyric video, it came out great. But because it was we put a lot of work into a lyric video, people actually thought it was a music video.
That's interesting.
So it got treated that way.
That's interesting. Now let me ask you on that note. Now that the album has been officially released as of last week, and you guys got that reaction, do you have any interest in making any actual music videos for any of other songs?
Oh yeah, we did a music video for our EP.
Okay.
Back in 2011, we did a video where we dealt with a drug addiction situation. We actually filmed the music video for our first single, Unhinged, and it's going to be released. We're actually editing it right now.
Oh, cool,
and,
cool.
It's going to be coming out very, very, very soon.
Wow.
We just wanted to make sure we came up with a concept for the song that fit the song and gave the impression what the song was really about. Yeah, that's actually a lot of stuff we're talking about now.
Wow.
The kid dealing with, parents not really paying attention to him. His sister's always on their iPhones.
Yeah.
Like snaps and goes out and walks into a metal show, and all of a sudden he finds like acceptance with these kids that are at the metal show. Yeah. And so that video is we're actually when I get off the phone with you tonight, I'm going back to talking to the director about doing some more editing on it.
Wow.
And we're very happy with the way that came out. Literally the lyric video we did in about a week, and this one, we've been working on for a little while. And we're also, we're no less than everything. We're already planning the next music video for our second single.
Okay.
We're hitting the ground running.
Well, and I got two more questions for you, Scott, before I let you go. Now, they say, a band has their whole life to write their whole album, which I guess you've kind of been through. So, in regards to this latest album you guys have recorded, were a lot of these songs, were they freshly written just for this album specifically, or was any of it older material that you had left over?
What happened with this album, and I will say, Jason, just like what some of the people are saying about the album is they like the fact that they don't feel like there's any filler in the album. We kind of took out of the 35 songs we've written over the course of 4 years, what are the songs that we most get behind, and what do we think is the best? And we did that and pretty much everything else we kind of just, all right, time to cut these other songs off.
Okay.
And so it kind of gave us the it was actually taking 4 years to write and record the album, 2 years to record and 4 years of writing.
Wow.
It actually kind of gave us the perspective, we're just going to put the best album together we can. And it's funny because we've recently replaced our lead guitar player with a new kid. And with GD on bass now, Brandy and Zach and myself, who've been here from the beginning, well, we're kind of like, because we're proud of the product we did, we're kind of like, well, we know we can do it. What can you guys do?
Oh, wow. And the very last thing I wanted to ask before I let you go is, what are you guys' plans to tour behind the album? You already getting tour dates set up, or is it kind of a matter of waiting to see how the album sells?
We are submitting, I think, our manager has submitted to a bunch of tours. It's going to come down to which tour makes the most sense. I can tell you there's bands that I've killed to tour with. It was so funny because there's one band I've been trying to tour with forever, and I'm actually friends with the bass player, and he was like, oh yeah, I submitted you guys with, he's like, I submitted you guys with Pop Evil, and I'm like, oh, that'd be like the perfect bill for us.
Oh yeah, that really would, and wow, I just want to say, Scott, I don't know if you know this or not, I've ever been told, but it's really been great talking to you. I didn't know a lot about you before I talked to you today, but I got to tell you, a guy just talking to you for the first time, you got a really inspirational story, and I love the fact that it's got a happy ending, so to speak, in regards to your health and everything. But I really didn't know much about your band, but I really enjoyed talking to you. And I'd like to, once I've had a chance to really sit down and hear the whole album, maybe we can do this again in a few months. And I'd really love to keep in touch and do whatever I can to help spread the word about your band.
Awesome, Jason. Thank you very much.
So,
I would love to hear, even if you want to...